Thank you for coming out again. There are a few of you out there that spent well over an hour with many of these same residents from King Cove yesterday to hear their life in King Cove. So thank you for coming back again. Senator Begich and I are here this afternoon with several of the residents from King Cove. Congressman Young would be here with us, but he is in Alaska still. But I think it's important to recognize that as a delegation, we are united in supporting the efforts of the people of King Cove to obtain access to an all-weather airport over in Cold Bay, access that had been effectively promised in the 2009 legislation that would allow for a land exchange. That exchange would effectively grant to the federal government about 300 to 1 in terms of benefit of exchange for what the residents of King Cove, the Aleuts, give up in order to grant to them a 10-mile, single-lane gravel road to be used for non-commercial purposes. The extent of this exchange and what is being given up is really pretty close to incredible. And I think most people would say it's pretty incredible that our own federal government, the Fish and Wildlife Service, the Department of Interior, would deny the people of King Cove a safe access route to an airport for emergency purposes, to save their families, whether it's their grandmas, whether it's pregnant women. The stories are endless, and oftentimes the stories end in absolute tragedy. The folks had an opportunity to visit with Secretary Salazar this morning, a very important meeting. It's just unfortunate that they've had to come back here to Washington, D.C. 6 times now in order to get that meeting with the Secretary. But that happened. They will tell their version of the story this morning. But I'm proud to stand here with you, with Senator Begich, as the full Alaska delegation, saying that we support not only this effort to remedy the wrong that has come out of the Department of Interior, but to ensure that the Secretary does the right thing in issuing a best interest finding so that the safety of the people in King Cove is afforded the same level of respect that is currently afforded a refuge and the birds that habitate the refuge. So with that, I'll turn it to my colleague, and then we'll hear from the residents of King Cove.
Very good. Thank you very much, Senator Murkowski, and I just want to echo the point. Let me underline the one issue, you put it in perspective. I mean, the 301 ratio of trade, it wasn't just any land, it was valuable habitat and other land that was critical to be put into the preserve. But along with that, I want to underline the point, it's a single lane gravel road, non-commercial use. Low volume utilization. When you think about this, all you have to do is kind of look at the pictures, especially the photographs. This is truly about life and death for the community. This is not an unreasonable request. When I first came in 2009, this bill had been put together, was on the floor within the first couple months. I remember in 2009, Senator Murkowski and I talked about it. She had led the charge to do this land trade. It seemed so logical that why would it even be controversial? And yet here we are with what the department has done as a no-build option. This is a tragedy in many ways. When we've talked to the community, we know that there might have been enormous amounts of mitigation that could have been done on the road and the development of it. They were willing and prepared to do that. But when you say no build, that means no road, no options, no exceptions. That is very problematic. We're excited that after multiple opportunities and requests that they had a chance to speak to Secretary Salazar. I know both of us have talked to the potential new incoming Secretary Sally Jewell. We both have probably, I'm not sure if Sally Jewell sat down before I launched into her. I'm sure same situation. She probably didn't even get through the door in your office before we laid out to the nominee for Secretary of Interior this situation. And it is a huge problem for us, and access in our state to communities is critical for not just people getting there and coming back, but in this case, it's truly about life and death. It is about making sure people have reasonable access, and that is safe access. This road does that at the lowest impact to this area, plus the amount of land that was being swapped in would expand this protected area. So we're hopeful, we're anxious, and I want to echo what Senator Murkowski said. The delegation is unified without one bit of air or light between us, because this community, we have seen it, we've experienced it. They need this access for long-term safety of their community. So they had a meeting this morning, and we'll let them tell the story of how that meeting went, but we're hopeful that at least there'll be a more enlightened secretary after the meeting. But I think we're going to keep having to put a lot of pressure on to make sure this turns around the right direction.